Alright, guys, so All Star voting is back, and I'm going to address something that I've had a problem with for several years. I'm tired of the All Star teams being just 12 people instead of 15. I mean, we've seen teams now jump from like 15 to 17 with the two-way contracts. I think that the All Star game should jump from 12 to 15 people. And that might seem crazy for the playing time, but ultimately, everyone's just there to have a good time anyways. I don't think anyone cares about playing too much time in an All Star game, even though it's all for fun. In fact, there might not even be an All Star game this year, so I don't know why they don't make this change. And one of the biggest reasons for this is because too many people get snubbed that completely deserve to be an All Star. I mean, we saw Bradley Beal last year average 30 a game and didn't even get in. But I'm going to be telling you guys about someone who's been snubbed for a very long time, and ultimately, I don't know if he'll ever get in, and that's CJ McCollum. What's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops, and today I'm going to be telling you guys about CJ McCollum, aka the ultimate all-star snub. Now, CJ McCollum, when he first came into the NBA, was only averaging about 5 points a game, a rebound, not even an assist a game, was shooting pretty bad, and was a bench player for the most part. I mean, at this point, it was Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge's team in Portland, so he kind of had to work his way up. And in his third season, when just about everybody left the team, he ended up winning Most Improved Player. I mean, his points per game went up by 14 points per game, which is just insane to think of. His shooting splits across the board went up drastically, and this dude was averaging 20 points per game. But the thing is, he's been averaging 20 points per game every season since the last 6 years. And that might not seem too crazy, but let me just give you a list of players that have averaged over 20 points per game since the 2015-16 season. Stephen Curry, James Harden, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, DeMar DeRozan, Paul George, and CJ McCollum. That's the whole list. There's really not that many people that have averaged 20 or more a game every season since. And if you just want people that have shot over 45% from the field and over 40% from three, well, then your list just goes down to CJ McCollum and Stephen Curry. No LeBron, no James Harden, not even his teammate Damian Lillard. Just a two-man list, him and Steph Curry. So clearly this guy has been one of the most pinpoint shooters in the NBA for several years now. I mean, over the past 6 years, which is what I would consider his prime, he's averaged about 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, and this guy hasn't even really been looked at for an All-Star game. Even his career numbers in the playoffs have gone up even more than that, where he's averaging about 23, 5, and 3. But the really funny thing is, back in the day, when they used to compare backcourts, they'd usually compare Portland. Everyone would say they were the Wizards of the West, and that the Wizards were like the Blazers of the East. It was always John Wall and Bradley Beal compared to Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And now we see all the praise that Bradley Beal is getting for averaging 30, 35 points a game. I mean, CJ McCollum, before he got injured, was averaging about 28 points per game. And that's the unfortunate part about this, is that he got injured again. He's usually been pretty healthy. I mean, in the 5 years before this, he played 80 or more games in 3 of those seasons, and another one he played at least 70, which, of course, last year, there was a shortened season to a degree. But this dude's always averaging about 23 and 3 every single season. And that might not seem crazy, but let me just compare him to someone that played in the 1990s. Reggie Miller. Now, Reggie Miller, for his career, averaged about 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. And this dude ended up making 5 All-Star teams. Now, of course, he was the main option. It was a different era, so it kind of makes sense. But even just to tell you how crazy of a shooter CJ McCollum has been, I mean, he's got a higher three-point percentage in his career than Reggie Miller. Now, of course, Reggie Miller has a higher true shooting percentage at 61.4%, which is just insane for a guard. And CJ McCollum has never eclipsed that until this season. I mean, this season he was averaging a career high in points per game, career high in assists a game, still getting 4 rebounds. And it was by far his most efficient season. The only season that he had a higher true shooting percentage than Reggie Miller's career average. But the thing that sucks for CJ McCollum is that playing in Portland, you're not really going to get that opportunity that much. I mean, we all remember after Damian Lillard made his first All-Star team, then he got snubbed like consecutive years. I remember one year they picked DeAndre Jordan to make it over him because the Clippers had a better record, which I still think is ridiculous, but that's how they went. So being in the small market definitely does not help his case. And the other thing is that they're always a really good team, Portland is, but they're never good enough to get multiple All-Stars. I mean, we've seen Giannis lead the Bucks to the first seed, and Chris Middleton becomes an All-Star. Now, that's not to say that Middleton isn't an All-Star caliber player, but, I mean, like we brought up the Bradley Beal point, if your team isn't up there, there's a good chance you might not be an All-Star. That's kind of the wave nowadays. So because Portland some years, even though they were really good, they were the 3rd seed multiple years, they were the 5th seed once, they're always a playoff team. They haven't missed the playoffs one year CJ McCollum's been in the NBA. But the fact that he had to play behind LaMarcus Aldridge his first few years and then Damian Lillard ever since, it would take a historic season by the Blazers for them to get multiple All-Stars. And unfortunately, I don't know if that's possible. I get that the Blazers are good, but I don't know if they're better necessarily than the Lakers or the Clippers. And that would already put them at the 3 seed, and we've already seen CJ McCollum not be an All-Star in that case. So it's very unfortunate for him. I mean, we've seen players, I know people think Mike Conley should have made an All-Star game, or Byron Scott way back in the day. Of course, though, they've only had maybe 1 or 2 seasons that could even compare to what CJ's done on a consistent basis. And the way that he plays sometimes in the playoffs as well, I mean, we all remember what he did to Denver in 2019. That was ludicrous. But we already know he's not going to make it over Steph Curry. He's not going to make it over Luka. He's not going to make it over his teammate Damian Lillard. And when you look at some of the other options, I mean, Donovan Mitchell has the Jazz at the best record in the league right now. Devin Booker was an All-Star last year, and he's having one of his most efficient seasons too. There's just too much competition out in the West. You even got De'Aaron Fox who's on the rise. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So it's just really hard, especially with CJ missing games now, that I just don't know if there's enough room for him to get into this year's All-Star game. And by this season's end, he's going to be 30 years old, which isn't really that old, to be honest. I mean, we've seen multiple dudes make the All-Star team for the first time when they were 34 or 35, such as Anthony Mason or Kyle Korver. But it's just really hard to bank on that for someone, especially when they've been this good for this long. I mean, the first time he averaged 20 a game, he was 24 years old. And back then, Paul George was on the Pacers, Kawhi was on the Spurs, LeBron on the Cavs, Kevin Durant on the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's been that long that CJ McCollum has been playing at this level. But it just doesn't seem like he'll ever get that All-Star nod. So in spite of all this, I know he likely won't make it this year, but I did put him on my ballot for the All-Star game just because I feel bad for the guy. And since I do feel really bad for the guy, and since I know this video won't go too viral, I want everyone watching to at least vote for him once, because you can vote over a span of 2-3 weeks. So voting for him on one day, I mean, that's not going to hurt you too bad, will it? So everyone, just vote for him one time. Just out of sympathy for the guy. I mean, the dude's always been there, and he just can never get over the hump. I mean, nobody likes going this long and not making the All-Star team. And I know he'll say probably it doesn't matter to him, but I'm sure deep down it would be cool to make the All-Star game at least once in his career. I mean, it's not like CJ McCollum's is going to end up in the Hall of Fame or anything. He could end up with his jersey retired by Portland one day. Of course, they did retire a ton when they won their only championship back in 1977. So we'll see if they do, but I think that they should anyways. But I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think CJ McCollum will ever be an All-Star? I just know that it's going to get tougher and tougher as time goes on. But I think that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also hit that bell so you'll be notified every time that I post a new video. And you guys can check the description to see all my social media pages. And look at this. I hit perfectly, just about 10 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for more. I'm out. Peace.